Harsha Bhogle.
Harsha Bhogle.
Without doubt.
Without doubt. He is a cricket journalist and commentator for Fox Cricket. He is our guest today, ladies and gentlemen, our feature guest, Harsha Bhogle. Welcome to the Run Home with Joel and Fletch.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being so kind to me.
That's okay.
I was listening in and I wondered who you were talking about.
Harsha, you've got that very recognisable voice. You've done so much for the great game, which is cricket. We want to know the Harsha Bhogle story, don't we, Brian?
I'm very interested.
Where did it start? And what brings you to a hotel room now in Adelaide ahead of a pink ball test?
I don't know whether we've done enough for cricket because the game's too big, guys. The game's too big. It took a guy from a small town in India and took him to the cricket capitals of the world. There's a lot to be grateful about. And I've got people like you being kind to me. I grew up in Hyderabad. Very nice cricket environment. Played a fair bit of cricket in Hyderabad, but I was studying chemical engineering.
Ooh.
And in all those years gone by, you did make careers in cricket, and I wasn't good enough. But I learned the joys of winning and losing. I learned the joys of a ball hitting the middle of your bat when you never dreamt it would happen. I learned the joys of taking a catch that I thought I wouldn't reach. So cricket gave me a lot of joy. But I was studying engineering. I was studying French. I went to business school after that. I went into advertising. But cricket was always a parallel course. And in course of time, it just sort of merged in and became the main path.
Wow. So what about coming to Australia? What was the first year you came out here? Because as a kid, I remember listening to you. So
Yeah.
ABC, I'd imagine, was that your first gig out here?
You don't even want to know. You don't even want to know.
I do. Harsha, talk to me. What year?
You were a kid. Jeez. Am I talking to children on this program? 1991.
Yes.
Oh, 1991.
Oh, you are talking to children,
Yeah.
Harsha. You are talking to children.
I would have been, I was 16. 16. Those dulcet tones coming through the wireless. Oh, gosh, it was good.
Who's been your favourite to work with all those great, esteemed commentators? Who's been your number one favourite to work alongside anywhere in the world?
But I'll restrict myself to Australia because I've come here so often. Different people. I mean, on radio, I started off with Jim and Tim, and then Glenn. Jim and Tim and Glenn was a good combo. I enjoyed working on ABC Radio with Kerry O'Keefe.
Mm.
And then when I started working lots more on Fox, I'll tell you actually, I enjoyed working with Warnie.
Oh,
Because he came hard at you, but he was underneath all that seemingly larrikin stuff was a hardcore cricket romantic, and he loved cricket. He loved it very deeply. If he didn't agree with you, he'd tell it to your face, but that didn't mean he didn't like you. So I enjoyed working with this Fox team. Is quite cool actually. You had Warnie at one end. And you had Mr. Good Boy Mike Hussey at the other end.
Mr. Good Boy.
Well, you got the bad boy now, Davey Warner.
Yeah.
How's he going?
He's come prepared.
Yes.
He knows he knows these people very well. So he's taken to his new profession. He's wearing brown suits.
Yeah, I did notice that.
And I know Brown's going well on him. But simply because he's close to the current team, he understands them well. He brings different insights into the commentary box. He's on time, he's disciplined. I mean, that's what you want. I think studios, when you're starting off commentary, studio is a lot easier than commentary, but I think he's fitting in very well, especially because Fox is ad-free. So you don't have to keep track of the counts, constantly saying, stop, pause, start. That's what we do in India. We're always pausing, starting, a bit like traffic.
Oh. Now, can I ask, we're chatting with the legendary broadcaster, Brian, Harsha Bhogle. Now, Harsha, we got a little bit confused yesterday because obviously we had Ricky Ponting on the program about a week and a half ago, and he was pretty adamant in his words, and that's fine. Hasn't worked out to plan just yet after first test. But then we read of comments by Sunil Gavaskar, Brian, and we were very, very confused by the end of it where he said, old McDonald...
I'm loving it.
And you thought he was confused with what, Brian?
I thought I was confused with, there's McDonald's, obviously.
Which is their tagline.
Which is I'm loving it.
Yes.
But the old McDonald has a farm, which I thought he was going a bit cryptic.
Yes.
Harsha, was it a Freudian slip or did he mean to do that, the great Sonny?
I have no idea. Sonny is very much his own man with very much his own views, his own comments. He's seen the game a lot. He's been to this part of the world in very different times, I must admit. In very different times. India's looked at very, very differently now than when I started coming, let alone when he started coming to play. So maybe he's just being more Aussie than the Aussies and
Right.
coming hard.
Are you finding this test in particular, or this series, there seems to be a bit of an undertone of not hatred, but we're sort of firing barbs at each other. We saw Ricky Ponting talk about Virat, and then the coach came out, Gambier came out and said Ricky should just stick to his to Australian chat. Are you surprised that there's been a bit of a war of words?
No, I'm just surprised there hasn't been more.
Right.
I've been coming to Australia for all these years. I read we used to say when you come to Australia, you play against 11 players and the entire media. And the media would come hard at you, and the media would constantly be picking little weaknesses in you. They'd say, Neil Kumble is no good. And suddenly I'm actually finding it very friendly. I'm finding it very respectful. Can you imagine? I was just telling somebody the other day, can you imagine Alan Border saying, it would be my honor to tell my grandchildren that I played against Jasprit Bumrah?
Yeah.
Alan Border would say, nah, he's all right. He's all right. We'll get runs off him.
But this Jasprit Bumrah, just on him, Harsha. Now, Jimmy Smith interviewed Mike Whitney the other day, and I found it to be a very fascinating chat. And they both sort of landed on, if Jasprit Bumrah was coming through perhaps our ranks, at about the age of 15, we might have said, hey, mate, this action's all wrong. That's not how you bowl to be a test cricketer. That's not how you do it. He's now the best in the world, doing it a very, very, very different way. So almost sort of sneaking through the cracks. But you've got the likes of him, a bit of sense of timing, which we have with our great sides. And then you've got at the other end, and at the other end of the batting order, this young Jaiswal, which is, it's exciting stuff for Indian fans, isn't it?
It is. And I think the cricket world has got to come to terms with the fact that the players all coming through now into Test cricket will all come through T20 cricket and not through Ranji Trophy cricket or the Shield cricket. They'll make their name in white ball cricket, as Jasprit Bumrah did. But he hastens to tell you he'd bowled a lot of overs in Ranji Trophy cricket, but he caught the eye in white ball cricket playing for the Mumbai Indians in the IPL. And the one thing you notice always about Bumrah, and I followed his career very closely, every time you saw him, he was a better bowler. He was always trying to do something different. He was always learning. And since you talked about actions, Bumrah, as a young kid coming into the Mumbai Indians, is playing alongside one of the greatest white ball players of all time, and that was Lasith Malinga. Would Lasith Malinga, with his action, come through the Australian system? And I think sometimes we should let talents flower and then see if that talent or that oddity allows you to have a long career. Now, suppose you've got someone who looks wow, but you just look at him and say, there's a back fracture around the corner, stress fracture around the corner. Then maybe you work on him. But sometimes we try almost to achieve perfection in actions. Brett Lee coming in, great bowler, but beautiful action. But not everyone can be Brett Lee. Not everyone can be Glenn McGrath. I think oddities are such a big part of our game. And it was Australia, wasn't it, that produced the likes of Iverson and Gleeson and all these people all those years ago?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jeff Thompson.
Just on that too, and you mentioned Brett Lee.
Absolutely. Tomo, there's the great example.
So you spoke about how Jasprit Bumrah has come through largely on the back of white ball cricket. And I was saying this on radio yesterday, Harsha, where the world has changed. Like people aren't reading like they used to read. They've got audio books. The whole landscape has changed. But we have played 5-day test matches for a long, long time. I'm kind of the view that, is it time to sort of swim with the tide? And is it time for four-day tests? I know you're a traditionalist. And maybe have that extra day up your sleeve for weather, which may impact a game. But in the modern day in which we're going, and if players are, in fact, as you say, developing their skills and attributes through the white ball game, do we need to move to 4-day tests?
There's one very strong reason why we need to stay with 5-day tests, because you get paid for 5 even if it finishes in 4.
Yes. Is that from a broadcast?
But that apart, no, but that apart, I think the last series that was played here, India versus Australia, with Pujara and Pant and Gill and all these young players coming through, and Pujara especially, because he just batted and batted and batted and batted and ensured that the bowlers were tired, which is another way of playing Test match cricket, the old classical way of playing Test match cricket, which is what India did with KL Rahul. So I think there's room for that. You must have a fifth day. You must be able to test endurance. Take the game into the fifth day. If it gets over in 4 because young kids don't have the same defense anymore, that's arguable too, or they play a lot of shots and create opportunities, that's fine. But you must have the option of the fifth day, because who knows, there might be a Pujara, or what we saw in Perth, there might be a KL Rahul coming in and playing these obdurate innings where the bowler's coming in hard and you're telling him, dude, I may not score runs for you, but you're not getting me out today. Try next week.
Oh, Brian, you're nodding.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I would say that yesterday. I agree. It's got to be 5-day test.
Okay.
Harsh, you were just talking about our Australian media. What's the Indian media like? Obviously, New Zealand had beaten the Indian cricket side at home. Does the media over there go pretty hard?
It does, but I don't think it quite goes as hard as it does here in Australia. Right. I followed a little bit of the media after Perth, and I thought Australia were like 6-0 down in the series.
Yeah.
And I thought, hang on, it's one test down out of 5. The last time India came to Adelaide, they were bowled out for 36 and lost the test match in a 4-test series and went on to win it. So much can happen in five test matches. And it's a luxury that the 3 countries that can play 5 test series, India, England, and Australia, are playing 5 against each other, because there are 2 kinds of tests involved. One is a test over 5 days with changing conditions, but the other is also a test of endurance. Can you hold your form over 5 days? Can you over 5 tests? Can you hold your fitness over 5 tests? Can you be found out and come back and score runs again in the 4th test if you're found out in the 1st? So there's a lot to be done over 5 test matches. It's a whole lifetime. I keep telling people that a test match is life played out on a cricket ground. 5 tests is an entire lifetime span. So we're very fortunate we can play 5. And I think the series is absolutely open. If I was Australia, I'd be saying, hang on, we've never lost in Adelaide.
Yeah, well, we had a similar record in Perth.
What's the fuss all about?
Didn't we? Yeah. There's something special about this Indian side. In saying that, well beaten by New Zealand. So the state of Test cricket is well and truly open. Of course, England giving New Zealand headaches. So it's kind of all on the roundabout at the moment. Would you make a change? Do we need to make one change for the Australian side? I know we need to make one change through Josh Hazlewood, but aside from him, specifically to the batters, Marnus, are you keeping him or you're not?
I think, I saw him in this test match and he looked a little out of sorts, but you get people who are out of sorts. It's the vibe that he is giving to the coach and the captain. Do they think, hang on, I know he's gone through 5 or 6 tests without scoring, but as the Australian media was frequently reminding everybody, Virat Kohli had 250 innings. And then went and got 100. So it's a question of how much trust you have in Labuschagne, but more than anything else, when you look at him, do you see someone who, whether in the nets or in his conversations, looks like someone who's convinced he's going to get runs? Or do you see someone who's fidgety and uncertain and says, I don't really know. Does he want to bat? Does he not want to bat? If you get those vibes, then you say, no, maybe you go and get some batting somewhere else and come back. But if you see someone who's confident, is batting well in the nets, you go with him. So I think this is an instinct call rather than a numbers call.
Yeah, Brian's got a bit sheepish here because he had a bit of a wager with Marnus himself that could he bowl more than faster than 130 kilometres.
135
kilometres an hour.
Yeah, I feel that's sort of and he was just focused on that because all the interviews before he was going on podcasts. He's saying, "Yeah, I can bowl 135. Or I just need Pat Cummins to give me the ball." I feel that might have taken his mind off his batting.
It's taken his mind off something, and it's taking what off you?
Yeah, $5,000 off me.
Serious?
Yeah.
Half an Ethereum coin.
I bet him.
$3,500.
Okay, so Harsha, he's right into his crypto. He's also into conspiracy theories, but I'll get to that at a later date. And he said to me, I can bowl 135, and I said, well, righto. let's have a bet. And we had a bet on a crypto coin, which was an Ethereum coin. And at the time we shook, it was 3,500, 3,650. So I do owe him 300.
No, you know him more
But
than
I'll
that.
tell you
No,
what,
I
I don't know.
You didn't say you bet him that amount. You bet him half a coin.
No, I bet him a full coin at that time, which was August the 15th.
And what's a full coin now?
5.5.
So that's a full coin.
No, at the time.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if you follow stocks or coins. I don't follow them too well. But what I do know is that Bitcoin hit 100,000 when
Yeah.
some time back it was 19. So if
Correct.
you're giving him something, give it now or just wait for a crash. Just
No,
hope
I'm not
there's a
gonna-
crash.
That's
No,
right.
Or spread some news around.
Yeah.
Spread some news around
Yeah.
that an Ethereum coin has some venom embedded in
It's-
it.
it's
Yeah.
gonna-
Hey, Harsha, we've only got about a population of 26 million here. Maybe you spread the news around over there in India. That might turn the dial.
Hey,
Gee, for a population of 26 million, you worry a lot about your trees. I came back in from Bali yesterday, and everyone's talking about a little borer somewhere in Perth. I said, we are a country of 1.4 billion people. We don't worry about borers in trees.
yeah.
That's right.
Hey, Harsha, I want to ask you just about the young kid, Jaiswal. Is that do we
Yes.
pronounce him? Is that his name correctly? Is it
Yes,
Jaiswal?
Jaiswal.
So,
Yes, and his first name is Yashasvi, which means success, victory.
Oh, okay. At the same age, where do you see him compared to a Kohli or a Sachin?
He's now 16 test matches old, 16 or 17. I think he's got 4 or 500, which is an astonishing start. You could say Tendulkar, you could say Kohli. But you know, one of the things we don't talk about enough in our sport is longevity.
Yep.
You look at Marnus after 15 test matches, and he's averaging 60 plus.
Mm.
So you will judge Yashasvi after his first downturn.
Gotcha. Yep.
When he goes through 3 or 4 test matches without scoring runs, it's how you fight back. It's the old boxer thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's how when you hit the ground, how quickly do you come back? What I've enjoyed watching from Jaiswal was someone who gets a 15, 18, 20 balls in T20 cricket, but who's leaving a ball. So he's got those sides to him. I was a little worried whether he had the patience, and I think he's shown that. So I'm very bullish about Jaiswal. But Tendulkar and Kohli, 100 test matches,
Okay.
80, 100s Kohli, 100 hundreds Tendulkar. You know, you just say the word 100 hundreds, and it doesn't even trip off our tongues so well, let alone actually going out and scoring them. So let's wait and see. He
And
looks good.
longevity, Harsha, you have done with class, and we appreciate you joining us. We have to go, Harsha. We need to wrap up the show, but we look forward to hearing your dulcet tones again on the Fox Cricket Network and, of course, KO Sports.
Thank you, and thanks for being so kind to me. And next time we'll do it in Hindi maybe, and then you can put it out on the Hindi feed.
Oh yes. We'll do both. I
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
We might get AI to do your voice, Harsha.
Wonderful
Shukriya, agli
suggestion.
baar Hindi mein karenge.
Yeah, 100%. Harsha Bhogle, till next time. Let's do that. Let's do that ahead of the
Thanks,
third
Harsha.
test. Good on you.